Welcome, everybody, to the Beer Guys radio show. This is our St. Patrick's Day episode. 'Tis the season. There's a lot of good drinking holidays. St. Patrick's Day is definitely one of them. I am Timothy O'Dennis. I think I'll go by that. We have Brian O'Gill. Where'd the O'Gill come from, Brian?
It's from Darby O'Gill and the Little People. So the joke is it's fair. Me and the Little People.
And the Little People. Okay, sounds good. And Mike O'Nate is with us. So we're so Irish. We're so Irish.
Super Irish
this week. But we're going to get into it, man. We're going to have a good time. Brian, as sometimes happens right after we recorded the show last week, some news changed. So anytime we're covering breaking news, things happen. So you want to give us an update there?
Yeah. So as we were talking about it, there was going to be a strike at Anheuser-Busch or AB InBev, and a tentative agreement was announced as we were talking about it between the Teamsters and AB InBev. So they apparently got the job security that they were looking for. We were talking about that last week. From what I can tell, it's mostly about more money. Their wages went up $4 an hour for the first year, and then up to $8 per hour over the 5-year period. They also got some tiered medical insurance plans, 8 weeks of vacation, and union members got a $2,500 ratification bonus. So it worked out for them, I guess. I looked for it. I didn't see anything in there about like any kind of guaranteed job placement if anything closes. So I guess that just getting the additional money was enough to keep them feeling secure. So it worked out for them, I guess.
Yeah, that was
no strike.
They wanted some guaranteed, basically throw them some job security here in this tumultuous time for beer. So yeah,
correct.
Well, all right. But yeah, like I said, right after we recorded the show, that changed up on us. And so here we are. But wanted to update on that. Y'all, we're going to go early on our beers of the week this week and talk about what we're going to get into. Very heavily Irish theme. Mine, I've got a Guinness Foreign Extra Stout. Brian, some fun trivia about this particular beer. And, I've had Guinness Draft many times, and I almost got that. That's a very big go-to for St. Patrick's Day, but I decided to mix it up a little bit. But Brian, if you were in Malaysia and you ordered a Black Bulldog, you would be handed a bottle of Guinness Foreign Extra Stout. Do you know why?
No, because I was in Malaysia and it never came up there. Never came up. Well,
apparently when the first export bottlers of Guinness, they used to add their own symbols to the label to distinguish their bottles in their exclusive territories. So the most popular labels were the bulldog, the wolf, the dog, and a cat. But there were dozens of different logos that they put on there to distinguish themselves. So next time you and Uma go back to Malaysia, go into a bar and ask for a Black Bulldog, see if it works out, if they're like, what? Or if you get a canine, maybe you'll get a new pet, which would be kind of cool.
That would be interesting. It's like, what kind of operation do you run here? A beer and pets, beer and dogs,
beer and pets.
Kennel?
It's a hybrid business. Works out. Mike O'Nate, what are you drinking this week?
So I started off the night with my Sullivan's Maltings Irish Ale, which is a red ale. I forget all the time about beers named after colors. So a red ale, a brown ale, a white ale. It was really nice. It was very dark. It was almost as black, almost
copper,
a little
coppery looking red.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I just got into Fat Orange Cat Baby Leprechauns. It's a session IPA, so not quite Irish beer themed, but it does have a bunch of cats wearing leprechaun hats. So
we'll allow it. Yeah, we'll allow it.
And then I'm finishing my beer of the week from Evil Twin Brewing. I've got their Even More Irish Jesus, which is a dry Irish stout.
Okay, sounds good. I just saw on the tap list of Fat Orange Cat beer this past weekend. I haven't seen them in a while, but I remember when they were dropping here a little more regularly that they were pretty tasty beers. I enjoyed what I had from them. So have you got into your infant leprechauns yet, Nate?
I'm sipping it right now.
That's the one you're on right now. How is it?
It's very good. It's a little grassy, but I kind of enjoy that. And I like that it's a session IPA, so I'm just keeping everything. We're just maintaining today. Nothing too crazy, nothing too high gravity. It's just all low ABV beers.
That's good because I've got an Irish stout and 3 mini bottles of whiskey for tonight. So I did. I picked up a bottle of Slane, that Irish whiskey, because I wanted to try it, a new Irish whiskey for me. It says it's triple cask, Brian. So Brian's got a big bottle. He's got the daddy bottle. I've just got a little mini. I just wanted to try it out because I didn't know anything about it. I went to the liquor store and I left my phone at home, so I couldn't Google reviews. I had to buy it without Googling it first. Is that not insane?
Yeah,
so
that's
wild.
crazy. But I think I did the same thing. Mine has an on special sticker. So when I went to the place, I saw triple cask. I'm like, oh, 3 casks and
That's
it's like
a
$25.
lot.
I'm like, all right, I'm going to do
All right.
this. I'm going to see how this works. And I think it's good. Did you like it?
So here's my review of it. It's tasty. It's a little
Yeah.
bit hot. It's a little bit sweet, which I don't necessarily mind either of those aspects to it. Is it the best whiskey I've ever had? No. Is it? I enjoy it. If I was out somewhere and someone's like, "You want to pour a Slane?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely, man, for sure. Hook me up there." So, what do you think of it, Brian?
I like it a lot. I saw that you were drinking it and I was like, wait a minute. I think I have a bottle of that nearby. And I did, which says a lot about me. I poured a little of it. I'm like, this is a lot better than I remember. It's, yeah, like the volume knob on an Irish whiskey's turned up. I really like it. I think that's great. It runs dangerously close to being like a Kool-Aid version of Irish whiskey, but I don't care. I really, really like it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I get that.
didn't strike me as hot though, but I don't know. Maybe my tolerance for heat. I do like cask proof whiskeys when I'm drinking. So
I do too. And let me just say that I don't necessarily consider hot. I don't say that to mean anything negative. And I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, this one's pretty hot." And I think that's usually said in a way to say it's too much. Not for me. Like, what's the bourbon that's like 100?
Oh, Booker's. Yeah,
love some Booker's.
Yeah.
And I don't need a drop of water. I don't need an ice cube or anything. Just neat, and I'm good to go. But that is hot, and it has a burn to it. But I really like it.
That is the one of the higher proof bourbons that I actually do prefer a little water or an ice cube in. Everything else,
you do,
but
what
that particular
do
one
to be able to handle it.
seems overly hot to me. So, but yeah, it's fine. I enjoy it fine, and I had bought several bottles when they were still $50 a bottle because I knew the price was going up, and I almost never touched them, so I still have them here.
I don't think I have anymore. I'm pretty sure that I went through mine, and they kind of rolled a pricing roller coaster for a little while. So I kind of backed off of those. But I also picked up some Whistle Pig, Brian. I've got a 10 and a 12 Whistle Pig, but I'm tempted to crank everything tonight, but I'm not going to do that. It's going to be beer and my little Irish whiskey. It is a school night. It is a school
I believe in you. You got this.
Thank you. Thank you, Nate. Appreciate it. But Brian, what are you getting into today?
So I started off, I pre-gamed with a Guinness and Smithwick's red ale, which is called a Blacksmith or a Pint of Special, and that's a great combination. It's the layered thing, so it's red on black, or black on red. I guess that's how that works. Really good. I tasted the components independently, and together it's probably better than either of them apart, honestly.
Okay. All right.
I'm working on a StillFire O'Farrell's Irish Red right now. It's a good malty, little sweet red ale. It's quite nice, and I didn't get it last year because I think I couldn't find it, but I've got Sullivan's, and this is an Irish dry Irish stout, Black Marble dry Irish stout. So Sullivan's Black Marble is what I'm going to get into next. If
that sounds
permits.
good.
Yeah,
that sounds good.
Yep.
Brian, we have a couple questions here on our stream. Cheers to the Hoppy Trails pod, guys. We got to get them on a show sometime. We talked about it, but we haven't made it happen yet. But yeah, thanks for dropping in, guys. David Johnson's got a question for us. He says, now that the nest is closed, where have you been visiting? And that is a fantastic question as to where I'm filling in my time. So I will say there's probably 3 or 4 places that's on my solid rotation. And one we've been hitting a lot because it kind of fits our 2 passions of the moment, Brian. We've been going to my parents' basement down in Avondale Estates, Georgia, quite a bit. And they have a very nice craft beer selection and lots of pinball machines.
A ton of pinball.
We've been pinballing a lot lately. So we go down there. We were there this weekend, and they had the Prairie Perennial Collaboration beer, Bombraxis, which is a Mexican stout collab. That was fantastic. A little bit of a haul for me, but I get up to Goodword probably more than a lot of places that are that far from me. So I enjoy going to Goodword, checking that out. And then we head down to the south side of town to Halfway Crooks. We go down there a good bit. So I would say outside of that, I don't think there's any that we hit enough to be kind of regular places. We kind of rotate it from there. But I would say my parents' basement, Goodword, Halfway Crooks, all are pretty regular rotation for us. So that's for now. those are the places I've
For
been.
now.
I would say look for places that have a lot of pinball because we did hit Schoolhouse a few times recently.
Yeah, we have hit
because they
Schoolhouse
have
a lot, yeah.
what is it? Medieval Mat? No, Monster Mash is the one they've got, and that's a particularly favorite table. I think of both of ours now. I didn't used to like it, but now I'm a fan. So
the vintage tables are great.
Right.
So
yeah,
we're getting too nerdy because Brian and I were chatting at night on Discord about strategy for playing pinball machines and watching videos. It's like, hey man, did you see this one? He says to do so and so. So it's fun, man. It's it's something to do. It's not hurting anybody. We have beer. We play pinball. Everybody wins. But
we've gone entirely too far with it. But my other favorites, I think my favorite right now still is the Godzilla pinball. I
like Godzilla, and David's right. Schoolhouse does have Foo Fighters, and that's a good one too. And they have a machine there called the Godfather. That is
that's a good one too.
A company called, I like to say Jersey Mike's, just to get you to correct me, Brian.
Jersey Jacks.
I know it's not, but it's Jersey Jacks Pinball. But all of their machines are super deluxe, like big use of LEDs and ramps, and looks like an iPad in there. So
super
Schoolhouse Brewing in Marietta, a good little hangout. We went there for a chili cook-off a couple weekends ago, and played some pinball and drank some beer. So it was a good time.
Indeed.
Good stuff. Well, Brian, moving right along, I think we covered the beers of the week. St. Patrick's Day, Brian. So what are the predictions? What are the retail soothsayers? Do I have that? Wizards, fortune tellers saying about
soothsayers?
St. Patrick's Day. Yeah, I don't know if I'm using that word correctly.
So the Sayers of Sooth named National Retail Federation say that the consumer plans for St. Patrick's Day 2024, and this is the only people I could find with any really useful stats of what people are planning on doing this year. They say 62% of people plan to celebrate St. Patrick's Day in some way. On average, the participants will spend about $44.40. The total expected spending on the holiday overall, and I think this is only the U.S., is $7.2 billion. I think it's just the U.S. They say national, so I assume that's the U.S. The total expected is $7.2 billion. In terms of celebration plans, 82% of people surveyed say they will wear green, and that doesn't include Tim, so he's
not me. No,
other
18%. I am the 18%. Yeah,
that's right. 29% will make a special dinner. 26% will decorate their home or office. 27% will attend a party at a bar or restaurant. I will probably be in that 27%. 16% will attend a private party. 15% will attend a parade. I will not be in that 15%. 12% will host a party, also not in that 12%. And the survey was a survey of 8,724 U.S. adults. It was conducted this February through the 1st through the 6th, and has a margin of error of plus or minus 1.1 percentage points. So if you want to get super uptight about it, 1.1% off is what we're thinking.
It could be as few as 80.9% of people wearing green.
That's right. So I mean, if that's important,
or as many as 83.1.
I think it's going to be 83.1. That's my guess. Yeah.
I put minimal effort into celebrating St. Patrick's Day, and much less, to be honest, as I've got older. When I was young, it was a great excuse to go out, pound beers. My big thing that I like to do is to get some corned beef and cabbage and a pour of Guinness. And if I can accomplish that, I'm usually pretty happy. I really don't enjoy anymore going out to the wild parties. It's just a little too much for me now. So Mo Miko Nate, as one of the younger members of the team here, the youngster, the young blood of the team, what do you do for St. Patrick's Day?
So I usually will try and go out. There's an Irish bar in Marietta that is very well known, Johnny McCracken's. And so in the past, I would go there, and it's, as I've gotten a little bit older, I just can't stand the crowds anymore. So now I just try and find a less raucous crowd to go be around and grab my pint of Guinness and just hang out and have a good time. So this Sunday, I'll be going to Patrick's over in Smyrna, and they're doing a big St. Patrick's Day celebration. Well, big for them. And so I'm going to go support them and just grab me a pint and have a good time.
Sounds good. Fun fact on Johnny McCracken's, Nate. For those that aren't aware, Alvin, the food guy that Liz, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. Help me out, Brian.
You're looking at me to remember names?
You're talking about
Alton Brown. Alton Brown.
Alton Brown. Yeah. Okay. You said Alvin.
Lives
I'm like,
in Marietta.
Yeah, I was like, what's going on here? Alton Brown lives in Marietta, and I believe the recipe for the corned beef at Johnny McCracken's was developed by is either his recipe or he developed it, for them. But it's Alton Brown's corned beef and cabbage there. So
yeah, that's top notch. That's the one time of the year that I really want to go over there. I used to really enjoy hanging out there because they let you smoke cigars in the back. I don't think they let you do that anymore.
It is a nice dive bar. If you want to get some good, pub grub dive bar atmosphere, if you want to play tap list roulette and maybe your fourth or fifth option is going to be available, then that's a good place to do it.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah,
indeed.
Brian, the history of St. Patrick's Day. So we found out a lot during these St. Patrick's Day shows on exactly what the history is and what's happening, but tell us a little bit about this glorious drinking holiday.
Okay, so I've distilled it down a little bit. In terms of the U.S. in 1848, several New York Irish aid societies decided to unite their parades. There were several of them going on into one official New York City St. Patrick's Day parade. Today, that parade is the world's oldest civilian parade and the largest in the United States with over 150,000 participants. And this might have even grown from that point in time. I don't know. It's been a few years since I collected this stat, and COVID may have affected those numbers a little bit. 3 million people line up to see it. It lasts for over 5 hours. Boston, Chicago, Philadelphia, and Savannah also have major parades between 10,000 and 20,000 participants each. Chicago began the tradition of dyeing the Chicago River green in 1962, and they do it every year. The mayor originally wanted to dye the entirety of Lake Michigan green, and fortunately they went away from that. So the first year they used 100 pounds of vegetable dye, and that kept the river green for a week. The dye they use now is actually an orange powder, and the recipe is a closely guarded secret. All we know is that the orange powder turns green when it enters the river. And now they only use 40 pounds of the dye, and it only lasts a few hours. And I think it's all very, it's good for better for the environment than the original powder. So it's all innocuous, I think. Yes, Tim.
I've got to say, man, I'm surprised that it was even back with the old method. It was only 100 pounds. I would think to dye a river that we would be talking a lot of stuff, but I guess 100 pounds of dye is a lot of dye. So.
Yeah, I mean, well, when you think about it, like a little drop of like, I guess it's not dye, but like
food coloring stuff,
or like a vanilla extract. Like think of an extract. If you taste that, a lot of it, it's enough to knock you out.
So I've got to ask. I think I may see where you're going here, but it could be that you're just unintelligent. So I want to check here. Why are you comparing taste to color?
Intensity. What I'm saying is the same thing works with extract. The extract is super dark, but like it just from another thing, a taste perspective, like the intensity of an extract, it's the same kind of thing. The intensity of it, you want to put a little bit into a large volume to have that impact. So
I can say
synesthesia, Tim, is what I'm going with. This,
okay,
really.
Cool, man. Sounds good. As I've mentioned a few times before, in a previous life, I was a candle maker with my ex-wife. And there were liquid dyes as well as solid dyes. And the solid dyes were tiny little diamond-shaped things. And on certain candles, the color we wanted, which could be pretty deep, we may only use like a quarter of one of these little things. And I mean, we're talking something like half the size of a pencil eraser would be how much it was too.
Yeah.
I forget the size of the blocks. They were like 10 or 15 pound blocks of wax. And, one of those little bitty chips or a quarter of some of those little chips would occasionally, dye the candle to the color that we wanted. So yeah, intensity.
Yeah. The ratio, it's a similar kind of ratio. I'm talking about ratios, Tim, and not
ratios. It's about the ratios.
not social media ratios, but
okay. Yeah. Maybe I'll run over to the park next to me and see if I can dye up the little duck pond there. And see,
yeah. You know what? Get you 40 pounds of dye.
Okay. Orange, right?
Orange.
Can I just use like Tang?
Well, I don't think that's concentrated. Distill it. Like make Tang, but then distill the Tang. That makes sense. See if that works.
Yeah, that checks out. Okay. Yeah. I'll keep you posted on that.
All right. Looking forward to hearing about that.
Yeah.
And I will not be paying your bail, FYI.
Well, what kind of friend? Nate, can I call you to get me bailed out?
I'll pay your bail.
We got Venmo. Me and Nate can make. We'll
I don't have Venmo, right. So I can't help you at all.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Now, Brian, looking back at the history of St. Patrick's Day. It goes back quite a bit. Traditions have changed in that, and some interesting facts about St. Patrick.
Yes. So it's, as most people know, it's celebrated annually on March 17th. It's been observed as a religious holiday for over 1,000 years. Historically, people would attend church in the morning, then they would drink and they would dance and they would eat a traditional meal of Irish bacon and cabbage. So St. Patrick, there's a lot of interesting stuff swirling around the internet about him. He lived during the 5th century. He was probably born around 390. He was kidnapped, I think, by pirates and brought to Ireland as a slave at the age of 16. He escaped, but then I think he had dreams about Ireland and later returned to Ireland, and he is credited with bringing Christianity to Ireland. According to the legend, he did this by using the Irish clover to explain the Holy Trinity to locals, and that made them get it. He is believed to have died on March 17th, 461.
Okay. Right.
That's 1,563 years ago for people keeping track. Although Patrick was venerated as a saint in Ireland from the 7th century onward, he was never formally canonized by the Catholic Church, and it wasn't until the 1630s that the 17th of March was added to the Catholic Book of Prayers as the feast of St. Patrick. So that's all you wanted to know about the background of St. Patrick and St. Patrick's Day.
Fascinating, Brian. Here's something that I found interesting as we dig into our St. Patrick's is, again, not Irish. I always found that one interesting. So it sounds like he was from Roman occupied British Isles, I believe, is what they expected. Correct?
Yeah. So there's a little bit of debate, but I think like BBC history or something like that, their official point of view is he was born in the Roman occupied British Isles, and he could have been of indigenous Celtic descent and may have been called Maewyn Succat, I think is the way you say that.
I bet that's not how you say it, but that's fine.
Maybe
that's fine. We're not Celtic. Could be.
Mecat is Sucat. Maybe,
but the Italian one, Patricius, think I got that one right there.
Yeah, there's another dissenting opinion online that I've seen that's where they say that this is kind of silly. He was probably born to an Italian family, and his name was likely Patricius. Either way, whichever one he's not Irish originally. He was brought there, and then he returned there as a missionary. Of course, the legend is that he drove the snakes out of Ireland, but Ireland apparently never really had snakes. The legend is
not after St. Patrick went through there.
That's a good point. Good point. If they measured them afterwards, like no snakes, obviously he drove them out.
Worked.
Now, I think the legend is probably a metaphor for paganism. He drove the pagans out by converting them all to Christianity. So, yeah, that's the interesting part of it. I don't think people realize that. They just assume he was Irish. So, but he was kidnapped and brought to Ireland originally. So it's interesting that he went back. I think that probably says something about him. So,
don't they call that Stockholm syndrome?
Yeah, perhaps. I don't think he went back with his pirates though. But we don't know that for sure.
Weren't you like in prison there? Yeah, it's all right though. This is pretty cool.
No, I like them. They're cool.
Yeah, it's nice.
They're just misunderstood.
yeah, it's nice. Yeah. So, okay. Fun stuff, man. And, you mentioned earlier, Brian, Savannah does a lot with St. Patrick's Day. And I'm wondering, I don't know how widely known Savannah is. I think people know of Savannah, Georgia, but I don't know that they realize that it's a big St. Patrick's Day party place. And they really throw down there, like you said, dyeing rivers and throwing a parade. And I'm curious. I haven't seen the news yet, but I know they were talking about like Super Bowl Sunday. There was an issue, or New Year's Eve, I think it was. So New Year's Eve, there was an issue because of liquor laws, like not selling at like midnight on a Sunday or something. And apparently these places could not get permission to get any kind of special, consolation for that. So the deal was that they couldn't have, the midnight toast there. So, and I believe that St. Patrick's is on Sunday this year. So I don't think people there's not usually, it's more of a day drinking kind of holiday than a midnight ringing in kind of thing.
I think so. Yeah. I don't think it's but yeah, I remember that. That's Yeah, I remember that. And I remember there being another story a year or two ago about something about them allowing people to eat meat on a Friday as a result of it being St. Patrick's Day. But that does not apply this year, but it did in the past. So if it's St. Patrick's Day, all the rules are out the window.
I do know that some of those Catholic rules, they get a little flex for things like, it's something weird like, what is the like swamp rat thing in Louisiana? Gosh, someone knows what I'm talking about. They're nutria.
Oh, yeah, the nutria.
I think it may be nutria that were qualified. Nate, can you hit Google and see if nutria is acceptable as a seafood for Catholics? Because I think it was nutria or something else that they're like, well, yeah, they eat a lot of that. I forget when it was, but something got
like otters or something like that.
Yeah,
they spend so much time in the water. They're basically seafood. Yeah.
Okay. Somebody got a pass there for some kind of weird meat, and it got classified as seafood. So,
but I can tell you that up until the 1970s, Irish laws in Ireland mandated that the pubs be closed on March 17th. Tim, have you heard about that? It's crazy. Basically, they changed their mind because the tourism was so ridiculous that, they were just leaving money on the table if they did not open up. So they changed
religious holiday. Just to clarify, that was a religious holiday. So that's why
people went to church and then ate their St. Patrick's Day dinner. Yeah,
I think Momico Nate has an update for us. What you got, Nate?
All right.
So, according to this article, in the 17th century, the superiors of the church permitted the eating of beaver meat because they said, as a semi-aquatic rodent and a skilled swimmer, it was declared, the Catholic Church declared beaver was a fish. And being a fish is permitted during Lent.
There you go. Go. This is a fish.
That's amazing. That's
like, guys. Are you sure? Well, that's like I have some Catholic friends that do Lent. They give up something for Lent, but I've had some of them that have said, "Yeah, I'm giving up beer for Lent." So they just hammer whiskey for 40 days.
That's
it's
just
like
cheating.
Or I had one. This was a friend's son, like teenage son, and he said he was giving up chips for Lent. Like he just hosed down popcorn for 40 days.
Oh, so
it's like, now, you know what? Not my religion, none of my business. Do it however you feel good about it. But Brian, I want to give a quick shout out to the Colorado beer guy because he's doing a beer fast. He's doing a Guinness fast for the Lent this year. So, he's going to be, he said nothing but, I think he said water, vitamins, and Guinness, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So, yeah. I have to check in for an update on that.
Is he the guy that did, like, I think it was all Abbey ales or all Belgian ales one year?
Maybe.
Yeah, because I think that was a big thing. Just because it's liquid bread, basically, so you can get by on it if you need to,
it sounds insane. Someone saying I'm just going to have nothing but bread, but typically low ABV beers. The monks did this. Like you said, water and beer. Like you said, it's liquid bread. It's fairly nutritious if you're not getting gazeboed, Brian.
That's right, getting gazeboed.
So, if you're just out there having some drinks and enjoying it, doing it responsibly. So, I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could go 40 days on just beer, vitamins, and water.
New drunk term, getting shamrocked.
It works. It works.
Getting rocked.
Yeah. That's when you get a McDonald's Shamrock Shake and you take a mini bottle of Irish whiskey and just invert it down in there.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Slane.
That's getting shamrocked.
Getting shamrocked.
That's what that is.
Slane.
So,
that's right.
Get Slane.
Getting Slane in the brain. Yes.
Yep. Good stuff, man. Another thing, Brian, corned beef, which I think is very traditional here in the U.S. One of my favorite things about it, I love to make a nice brisket, potatoes, cabbage, carrots, the full spiel, but that's not traditional in Ireland, correct?
Yeah. So it was Irish bacon, and the whole corned beef thing started in the early 20th century in New York's Lower East Side. And the reason for that is it's frugality. It was cheaper to go with corned beef than it was it was easier, cheaper to get corned beef than it was to get Irish bacon. It was just harder to do. And that caught on. People just took that and ran with it. Until we looked into the information on the show, I had no idea that there was anything other than corned beef that you would eat. So it's amazing how much of an impact that had. So yeah.
I did learn that years ago. I ran into back at one of our old favorite breweries, RIP Burnt Hickory Brewing. But when Will Avery was there, Will ended up moving to Ireland and going to work for a brewery, Galway Bay Brewing over there. But they had like the maltsters, the Irish maltsters came over there, and I think we got to chat with them about St. Patrick's Day. I always think it's fun to find someone from a culture and find out the reality of what's going on. I remember years ago running into an Australian dude. They had an Australia Days at Zoo Atlanta, and it was a beer fest, beer and wine, Australian beer and wine, and they had the Foster's oil cans there, of course. And I was like, do you guys really drink this? It's Australian. He's like, no, absolutely not. So I'm like, man, they're not going to Outback and having oil cans over there, Brian.
Or blooming onions. I think
maybe they are. Maybe. So.
I mean, if they've tried it, maybe they would like it. But the one that I used to enjoy drinking when I could get a hold of it, I've never been to Australia, it's called Victoria Bitter, and I think that is popular. And I would love to see that over here, but I haven't had it in years.
Is kangaroo a fish?
How much swimming does it do, Tim? I think that's all we need to figure out is, does it spend a lot of time in water? Because if it does, yes, it's a fish.
If it's apparently a capybara qualifies as a fish.
Okay, so that would put nutria in the same family, and maybe that's if capybara, beaver, I would bet that nutria fall in there as well. So
delicious.
Delicious fishes.
Corned nutria.
Eat more fish. Corn nutria, kangaroo.
Corn kangaroo. Yeah.
It's going to be great, man. It's going to be great.
I've seen things on like a travel channel or something like that where people eat unusual or interesting things. I guess kangaroo tail was something that I saw people eating. So I don't know if that's a real thing or if that was just a extreme food and we're going to mess with your mind type of thing. I have no idea.
I watch a lot of those shows on YouTube, and I always wonder, is this really like something that's common there? Or are they being ridiculous for the American filmmaking crew or whatever to check it out? Like there was one I watched, and the guy he was in some Asian country, and they were talking about eating these grub worms, which I have heard they eat, but they're these really big white Mapani worms or something like that. And the lady that took him to the place that made these, he was trying to get her to eat them, and she's like, oh no. Nope. I'm like, okay, so it's not like everybody isn't just chowing these down. I mean, you could go certain places in America and find weird things. I mean, when I lived in Arkansas, oddly enough, the guys there enjoyed beaver. They would barbecue it, smoke it, and make smoked beaver, and of course squirrels and any other number of small rodents that ran around. Like I said, I've got hillbilly and redneck family in my bloodline, so I imagine we've eaten all sorts of interesting animals there.
I agree with Judy Anderson Graham's assessment of the situation. That is in fact gross, like the kangaroo tail and all the rest of it, especially the worms.
I can't argue with that. Now I have had kangaroo burger. I've had like ground kangaroo in a burger before.
It's good. Emu burger. Yeah. Okay. And that was really good.
Ostrich is another one that, you know what? I think I'm actually thinking of ostrich. I'm getting my large.
Might be ostrich.
I don't exotic know animals. I don't know. Mixed stuff. I don't think I've had kangaroo, but I know it's available out there.
Yeah.
But, interesting. All right. Well, you know what? Maybe we'll try corning a kangaroo tail next year and seeing how that comes up. But Brian, if you're not a meat eater, great news. Guinness is totally suitable for vegetarians and vegans. And, there's been a lot of news that's gone around that rumors that's not the case. And the big thing there is that there is a certain fining agent used to clarify beer that is made from the bladders of fish. It's called isinglass. And I don't know if it was ever used in Guinness, but it is not now. There are definitely other things for fining beer. When we homebrewed, Brian, we used Irish moss, which kind of makes a gelatinous, kind of brings all the stuff in there. But there's no isinglass. There is no fish bladder in your Guinness. So if you're vegan or vegetarian, Cornia like a cabbage, maybe like a tree limb if you want to, and then have you a pint of Guinness, and you'll be just fine.
Yeah, that's something that shows up every single year, and maybe it's starting to fade. I don't think I've seen it yet this year, but like, if you're vegan, don't drink Guinness because it's not vegan. They use like some fish part now, and they haven't in years, and they made a point of switching away from, because I think they did use isinglass, but that was pretty common back in those days. The whole point of it is to bind with things in the beer and fall out. So theoretically, if it works, it's never in the beer. But I get it. Theoretically, it could be, and you don't like that. I get that, but they don't do that anymore. So
don't do it anymore.
If that's keeping you from drinking the Guinness, then don't worry about it. You're safe. They don't do that. So not other ways.
That's definitely something, that I think was common back in the day, Brian, but there's other things used now. So maybe some breweries
effective.
Still use their isinglass, but not anymore.
Yeah.
Brian, let's give some shout outs here to our fantastic sponsors. I want to give a shout out to our friends at Terrapin Brewery Atlanta. And Brian, they're participating in a very unique event this year. The annual Team Hitty celebration from the Giving Kitchen will go down at Truist Park this St. Patrick's Day. Now, Terrapin is going to be on hand with tasty beers, including some new IPAs from their Farm System series. These are single hop offerings. They use the same base beer and mix up the hops. The ones they've got on right now, Brian, are going to showcase Vista and Allura hops. So you can check those out now. It is happening on St. Patrick's Day. So the crew from Brick Store Pub, which are awesome people, they're going to be on hand to make sure you get your pour of a dry Irish stout. So you won't have to go without. Now, the Giving Kitchen supports food service workers in Atlanta. The people that serve you, make your food, all of this. If you don't know much about the food service industry, it's a pretty unstable. There's not a lot of security within food service.
True.
And one small tragedy can be catastrophic for a food service worker. So the Giving Kitchen is there from the support of donors, corporate partners. I know Sweetwater has partnered with them to make beer before, where all the proceeds go together. Brian, we even did an art auction. We partnered with Catlanta.
We did.
Here in Atlanta, did a custom painting, which we auctioned off. And then we sold prints of it and signed and numbered prints. And we raised over $1,000 for the Giving Kitchen because it's supporting the people that make sure we get our drinks, make sure we get our food, make sure we have a good time when we go out to restaurants. And that's not always a, very thankful kind of job. So this particular event, Team Hitty, is the Giving Kitchen's premier event. There are food and beverage tastings, there's auctions, there's musicians, and there will be speeches on the impact of Team Hitty and the Giving Kitchen. We're going to put a link on our website for tickets. Those are on sale now. Again, happening at Truist Park on St. Patrick's Day. So check it out for more info to grab your tickets. Maybe we'll see you there, and make sure to get a pour or two from our friends at Terrapin Beer Company.
Excellent. And you know that Truck and Tap is not going to let a holiday like St. Patrick's Day go by without throwing a heck of a party. So do you like drink specials? Well, each Truck and Tap location has something a little different to offer. The original Woodstock Truck and Tap location, still kind of my favorite, just from nostalgia point of view. They're going all out with Irish beer mules, Irish apple shots, and something they call Irish lemonade. Is that just lemonade with green food coloring and maybe vodka? There's only one way to find out. You got to show up and drink some. Over at Truck and Tap Duluth, they're serving up Irish car bombs and Irish coffee martinis. They're going with the hot theme. I like that. That's where we did our hot drinks show. And they'll have a DJ spinning there in the evening for your listening enjoyment. The off-road location has also got me intrigued with something they're calling Irish beer soup. I don't know if that's food or if that's a interesting beer concoction. In addition to that, they'll have corned beef Reubens, shot specials, and chocolate grasshoppers. I'm assuming that's a drink and not actual grasshoppers, but there is no telling. You'll have to show up to find out.
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? And last but not least, Truck and Tap Lawrenceville will be pouring green beers and have not 1 but 2 days of live music to celebrate. So they're doing 2 days. I think they're the only one that's doing 2 days. And I believe they still have the Old Rasputin on Nitro there. It's not a dry Irish stout, but it might give you that feeling too. And maybe they'll turn it green for you. I don't know. But before you head out, make sure you go check out Truck and Tap's website, truckandtap.com, and look at the social media for time and details about these events. Thank you very much to Truck and Tap for their support.
I think you may need 40 pounds of orange dye to turn a pint of Old Raspy green.
Probably. Yeah, at least
you
40
probably
ounces
would.
of it.
At least 40 ounces, right?
Yeah.
Well, Brian, let's talk about half and halves. So, and I think probably the most famous half and half is the black and tan, but I think that term has fallen out some places. The classic half and half is 2 beers. Guinness is the one on top, and I believe Bass Ale, Brian, is that correct for the traditional black and tan half and half?
The original traditional black and tan is Bass Pale Ale with Guinness layered on top of it. So if you do it properly, there should be a clear separation. I think most people have seen it between the lighter beer on the bottom and the Guinness on top. So you get that nice two-tone thing that just kind of looks magical the first time you see it. So if you've never seen it, if you've never had one, you got to get it.
You got to do it.
It's kind of fun, and it doesn't mix together as you drink it. It actually does kind of maintain some layering. I was going to try to keep the one I pre-gamed with, but I made it too early and it didn't last. But the entire time, there's a little bit of Guinness on top and a little bit more of the lighter color beer on the bottom. So, yeah. So in terms of like how do you make it? If you wanted to make your own, it's pretty simple. You fill your glass half the way up with whichever beer you're going to half and half with Guinness, and you carefully fill the glass the rest of the way with Guinness. You can pour it gently over the back of a spoon, or you can use some sort of a special layering tool. And I have used a number of different special layering tools, and the people watching our live stream will possibly see a couple.
Oh, you've got a stock of them now, huh?
I do. I've tried several of them. So there is the black and tan turtle, which I have, and it's shaped like a turtle. It's got a little mouth that's a bottle opener. It's pretty cool. It's got feet that hang over the edge of a glass. It's not well suited to all glass sizes, but it's effective in layering it. You got to be a little careful with it. Of course, there is the bar spoon, the traditional spoon that's used is kind of bent so it fits over the lip of the glass. I've used those. They can be a little messy, but you can get the job done with those. The one I tried this year that's kind of been the one I've enjoyed the most is it looks like a sink drainer, a shower drain.
Right?
Yeah. This one's
I don't like that. I disapprove of that one. I think little bitty holes in it. I don't like that one.
Oh yeah, you don't like the appearance of it. Okay, I'll hide that one. But in terms of being effective and being idiot proof, this it's called the Perfect Black and Tan, but there's a couple of ones like it. It's incredibly good at keeping you from accidentally pouring too hard.
Isn't it really slow dripping out of those little holes?
It's not too bad. It's not too bad. There's a lot of them. It drips pretty quickly, and the separation of beers with that it's like I said, it's idiot proof. You don't have as much of an intermingling of the layers when you pour it through that. So I've really enjoyed using it, but yeah, you can just use a plain old spoon. You just got to be careful with it. It's a little tough, you know. Maybe grab a spoon you don't care too much about, bend it a little bit so it fits better into the glass. Just pour carefully. So that's how you do it.
Very good.
How you do it. Yeah.
Very good. Brian, some more chatter on our live feed. We love it. Mara Brothers Oysters says, "What's up from North Carolina?" We had a good time.
Oh, love those guys.
Yeah. We chatted with them over at the Good Word Beer Fest and enjoyed their oysters quite a lot. So that was a good time there. So
they said they'll be back for this year's event.
Nice, man. Nice. Yeah, that'll be one. We never miss those, man. We never miss those at all. So it's going to be a lot of fun. You know, I'm going to back up just a little bit to something we talked about dyeing things green. And that seems to be something that people get pretty passionate about. Mike O'Nate, what are your thoughts on green beer?
I think it's more of a gimmick and something that is a little fun, but not for me.
Okay.
I don't get excited over it.
Brian O'Gill, what's your thoughts?
Well, me and the little people love our green beers. I like it. I think it's fine. It's just food coloring. I know it's silly. It's fun. I'm going to get it. If it's there, I'm definitely going to get it. I'm not going to drink a lot of it. Probably I'll have one, and then I'll have whatever I want to have. Maybe I'll have the Sullivan's Black Marble Stout, like the one I'm drinking right now. Who knows? Whatever.
How's that? You know? How is that one, Brian? I have not had that.
It's good. It's good.
Okay.
It's more chocolatey / chalky. It's an interesting. It's definitely different than Guinness. It's good. So yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I like green beers, man. I think it's fun. I think it's stupid, you know, and I did a pint one time where I just, dyed it up a little bit. Fun fact, use blue food coloring if you're doing like a pint of a yellow beer, because
Gotcha. Yeah.
yellow and blue, guys, yellow and blue.
Yeah.
So, I think it's fun. I think it's a silly way to celebrate the holiday. I think there's people that get too bent about it, like really take a passionate stance against green beer. And I just don't get the point in that. So no one is going to force you to drink a green beer. And, if you don't like whatever beer they happen to be turning green, then don't drink it, man.
Yeah,
it's that simple. If you don't like the beer, don't drink it.
I'm disappointed that it's not like those, what was it? The squid ink buns. Was it McDonald's thing that they did?
Oh, they did. Yeah.
Yeah. In like Japan or Korea, where if you ate it, it actually affected
That
things
wasn't
later
Japan or
on in
Korea,
terms of
Brian.
color. What's
That wasn't Japan or Korea. They did that here too. They did a Halloween bun.
Oh, did they do
the
that
dye
here?
that they used, was it purple? That it
Yeah.
dyed your? I'll just be polite as I can. When it came out the other side, it was purple or something like bright green or purple. I forget. It was the dye reacted with something and it scared some people.
I thought it was like a squid ink thing and it was like a regional special thing, but maybe
that,
I may
maybe
be
it
wrong.
happened over there as well. But I
Yeah.
will say this, Brian, I have consumed things with squid ink and I don't recall anything freaky deaky happening. I'm just saying.
just, you know what? Have it dyed with beets and that'll
Dyed with beets,
give you a bit
yeah.
of a shock.
Beats by Dre. So, Brian, going back to these half and halves, there's a lot of them out there. There's more, I think, than a lot of people would know. There's always new ones coming up. A different bar will come up with their own thing. We saw a flyer that I believe was from the 50s or 60s, maybe, that was from Guinness, that talked about a variety of different ones. And I forget the name of some of them, but one was Guinness and tomato juice was one of the suggestions. Brian, did you ever try that? I know it was on your list for a while.
No, I meant to try it, and I was about to do it, and then I realized what I had was V8 vegetable juice, and that wouldn't be it. And that interesting thing, that's not really a half and half. It's something they came out with in I think it was actually released in 1976, as best as I can figure.
Okay, now wouldn't a half and half be any combination of Guinness and half something else? That right?
But I think the idea with the half and half is it's layered, and these were just like cocktails. So they had things like, I think the Guinness and cola, I think you just mix the two together. And we did try that. The Guinness and cola is called a Trojan horse. The Guinness and tomato juice is called the Redhead.
Okay.
The one I made note of that I really want to try because I have Guinness and port is Guinness with a splash of port. It's called a Midnight, and I'm definitely going to try that at some point. But yeah, they have an entire fold out thing that had all this neat art and descriptions of basically beer cocktails. But they read like the half and halves. I just don't think they would layer. So that's I think that's the reason they're kind of not considered the same thing. But some of them are the same mixtures.
Brian, I'm reading here some of these, and the Dirty Hippie for a little Atlanta flavor there, Sweetwater 420 in your Guinness. One I want to try, I don't know why, but the Black 8 or the Black 8 Ball, which is good old English 800 in Guinness. That seems totally unnecessary. I bet the Black and Bach is good with or called Irishman in Texas, which is Shiner Bach in Guinness. I could do that. Have you ever done a Black Velvet, Brian?
I don't think I have. I think the closest I've had is the poor man's Black Velvet or Black and Gold, which is cider. And I think that's sometimes in bars, they'll call that the Black Velvet, but it's not really. So the Black Velvet's with champagne. I want to give a shout out to the Jinx on Twitter /X for giving me the idea of the Dirty Hippie.
For the Dirty Hippie?
That before. Yeah. So
cool.
that came from him or her. I have no idea who it is. From them.
Now, Brian, you invented, quote, air quotes here, a non-alcoholic half and half this year, right?
Yeah. Did I write that down? I don't actually. What did I call that?
Guinness 0-0.
0-0 and athletic, right? Upside Dawn.
Upside Dawn. And I think you said you called it 0.5.
Oh, yeah, 0.5. Or you were like none and done, which was a good one.
None and done.
0.5.
Yeah, if you've got any other ideas for the name, we'd love to hear them. But because the Guinness NA is 0-0. So it's truly non-alcoholic, but the athletic non-alcoholic brews can contain up to 0.5%. So 0.5, none and done for a couple that we came up with there.
Those would be great. And I was hinting that I'm like, you should try that out, Tim. You should try that out. But then you went and got whiskey.
Yeah. So I may be doing the one and done rather than the none and done.
The one and done.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, guys, we're getting to the tail end of things here, but as you drank through your beers and whiskeys or whatever, what have your thoughts been? Nate, how about you, man? How have your beers treated you this week?
As I was drinking through the Fat Orange Cat, it finally hit me. It kind of drank like one of those non-alcoholic IPAs. It had a little bit more malt character to it than I was expecting, but it still was showing as a session IPA at 5.9%, which somehow just had the flavor of a non-alcoholic IPA, but it has all the alcohol of an alcoholic IPA.
Now, to clarify, one thing I'll say, and this isn't a knock on NA beers, it's just kind of the way things go. The malt character presents as a bit warty for those who know homebrew. Is that what you're getting in your Fat Orange Cat, is a little warty malt?
That's exactly what I'm getting.
Okay. All right. I figured that's what you were saying. If you said it kind of reminded you of that.
But I've got the even more Irish Jesus dry Irish stout from Evil Twin in my glass right now, and it's just a nice way to round out the show. Those really warm, roasty flavors that I would expect out of a dry Irish stout.
Very good. Very good. Brian, we talked a little bit about yours, but which of your 37 beers impressed you the most? The Black Marble?
So I like the Sullivans. It's very chocolatey. It does have a little of that chalkiness, but it has some of that nice roast. It's very different than Guinness. It does not have, the Guinness has that little twang, that little tart. And I think that based on looking into it in the past, they actually add a little soured beer, or they add a little, what's the thing that the kettle souring agent that they add to it?
Lactic acid.
I think that they might add that now, but it used to be a little bit of soured Guinness. But if you have Guinness and you really pay attention, it's just definitely got that twang. This doesn't have it. It's very chocolatey. It's very rich. A little bit of like a chocolatey hard, is that like a hard water type of thing? And
right.
Roast. Okay. It's really nice. O'Farrell's was good. It's a good red ale, nice malty sweetness to it. That Blacksmith, the Guinness and Smithwick, that's a great combination. And I drank a little of each independently, and I do like Smithwick's a fair amount too. That's a really good beer. So
I think we had the discussion last year, Brian, about the pronunciation of Smithwick's, or that, because I've heard it a few different ways. We won't dive into that. We don't have enough time to argue. We don't have enough time to argue that argument this year. But definitely one that people seem to have their own opinions on. I think the ones that I've seen the most opinion on are like frat boy Americans, who probably are saying it wrong, but they're highly opinionated on the way they say it. But whatever, man, whatever. I went to London on an educational exchange, so now I know everything in the entirety of Great Britain, the way it works. So.
Yeah, you get that snapshot. I like that. I used to think that I knew how to pronounce most German words because I took a semester and a half of German, and then I realized that I've listened to actual German speakers say the words that I thought I knew how to say, and I'm like I'm really way off, or my memory's really bad, which I know, or I was really way off to begin with and just never got it. So
it's like, I missed that one. That's not even close.
Yeah. So. It turns out I'm an idiot. That's not right at all.
Once again, proving that I am not
real man of genius.
Definitely not.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, the opposite of that.
The opposite of this. Y'all, thank you so much for hanging out with us for St. Patrick's Day. We hope you have a good time. However you choose to celebrate, whatever land-based fish you decide to eat, you just rock on, get you good beer, make you half and half, have a good time, stay safe out there. And y'all, we appreciate you tuning in. We hope you have a fantastic week. And don't forget to drink local. Cheers. Or Irish.